Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from Breitbart. This is dated September 9th, and it says, report, ABC campaign coverage has been 100% positive for Harris, 93% negative for Trump. Now, you probably watched the debate that happened a few days ago from the time I'm recording this, and I will have a couple of videos coming out in the next few days about some of the things from the debate and what happened, but I just thought it was probably better to get this video in before those, just to show the bias going into that if you haven't seen it already, which is just ridiculous. Like, how you can have 100% positive coverage for Kamala Harris is beyond me, and 93% negative for Trump. It's like you guys couldn't have been objective, like, in the slightest going into that debate. But let's go ahead and get into the actual article and see what it says. It says, ABC News program World News Tonight has shown an overall positive spin on its reporting of Vice President Kamala Harris versus its overall negative reporting on former President Donald Trump, according to a recent report. A report from the Media Research Center's, MRC's, Newsbusters found that an analysis of 100 campaign stories aired on World News Tonight, hosted by David Muir, who, by the way, was one of the moderators at the debate, found 25 clearly positive statements made about Harris from reporters, anchors, voters, or other nonpartisan sources, which represented a 100% positive spin on the outlet's reporting for Harris. So obviously he is not biased in the least, is he? It says the 100 campaign stories that MRC reviewed stemmed from July 21st, when Harris entered the 2024 presidential race, to September 6th, which was just a week ago from the time I'm recording this, because I'm recording this on September 13th. The debate was, on the 10th. So right in between when I'm recording this and when the campaign stories here were reviewed on September 6th. So an analysis of ABC's reporting on Trump found 5 clearly positive statements and 66 negative statements, representing a 93% negative spin on the outlet's reporting for Trump. As the MRC's Newsbusters report noted that ABC's reporters and anchors either jumped in to criticize Trump themselves or broadcast negative comments from nonpartisan sources to impart a heavily negative spin to the former president's coverage. And this is just one of those things where it just made me think of that saying of, like, you don't think you hate the media enough, like, or whatever that is. But yeah, you really don't. In one example of the biased reporting from the outlet on their coverage of Trump versus Harris, during an interview between Muir and Trump in January 2017. Okay, so we're going back on this one. It's almost 8 years ago. It says Muir seemed to imply that Trump was not presidential for speaking about his popular support, though Muir kept asking him about it. So David Muir, who again, just to repeat, was one of the moderators at the debate a few days ago, says, Mr. President, I just have one more question on this, and it's bigger picture. You took some heat after your visit to the CIA in front of that hallowed wall, 117 stars of those lost at the CIA. You talked about other things, but you also talked about crowd size at the inauguration, about the size of your rallies, about covers on Time magazine. And I just want to ask you, when does all of that matter just a little less? When do you let it roll off your back now that you're president? And during the interview, Trump continued to talk about his speech and how other outlets, such as Fox News, described it as being great, while ABC News and other networks covered it very inaccurately. Trump said, and they tried to demean. Excuse me? And David Muir said, not me personally. And President Trump, almost said Mr. Trump for reasons I don't know. But President Trump then says, not you personally, but your network. And they tried to demean the speech. And I know when things are good or bad. A poll just came out on my inauguration speech, which was extraordinary, that people loved and liked, and it was an extraordinary poll. And I'm sorry, I can't do a Trump voice, so that's why I'm not doing one. David Muir then says, I guess that's what I'm getting at. You talked about the poll, the people loving your inaugural speech, and the size of your... It just stops there. You can imply a lot there. It says President Trump says no because you bring it up. David Muir says, I'm asking. Well, on day one, President Trump says, well, you just brought it up. I didn't bring it up. I didn't want to talk about the inauguration speech, but I think I did a very good job and people really liked it. You saw the poll, just came out this morning. You bring it up. I didn't bring it up. David Muir said, so polls and crowd size and covers on Time, those still matter now that you're here as president. President Trump says, well, you keep bringing it up. I had a massive amount of people here. They were showing pictures that were very unflattering from certain angles, that were taken early, and lots of other things. I'll show you a picture later if you'd like, of a massive crowd. I don't know why I read that so funny. It says, I'll show you a picture later if you'd like, of a massive crowd. Okay. This is in another instance during an interview in August 2020, President Joe Biden and Harris, who were the Democratic presidential and vice presidential nominees at the time, Muir asked Biden if he blamed Trump for the deaths during the COVID-19 pandemic and labeled the Trump administration as negligent. So David Muir says, "We have so much that we want to get to here, but I do want to get right to the heaviness of the moment in our country. The pandemic, more than 170,000 American lives lost now. Mr. Vice President, you have said that people are dying because of this negligence. Do you blame President Trump for lives lost?" And Biden says, "I don't blame him for the COVID crisis. I blame him for walking away and not dealing with the solutions." What? Okay, he walked away. You mean he got elected out of office or removed from office in an election, whatever you want to call it? There's the idea of saying, with two G's for some reason, that this is going to go away, that some miracle is going to happen. There's all talk about the crazy things about bleach and using. I mean, it's just he hasn't listened to the scientists. Yes, because they happen to be totally right about everything, and the thing about bleach is a lie that never happened. Glad to see Joe Biden, even back then, was in top form of just lying about things. Muir says, "But do you think the negligence on the part of this administration has cost lives?" Says in other instances, Muir has congratulated Harris on making history and cut off former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie for pointing out that Democrats have previously denied election results, which is totally true. Says, "Look, David, this goes all the way back to 2000 with George W. Bush, when you had supporters of Al Gore who, even after Vice President Gore conceded the election and certified it himself as the president of the Senate, refused to accept George W. Bush as legitimate," Christie said on Tuesday. You've had Hillary Clinton say that she still doesn't accept the 2016 election results as legitimate. This is a very dangerous thing in this country, which was brought to a new level in 2020 when Donald Trump and then Muir immediately interjected, stressing that Gore stood before the nation and actually conceded and did something very different than what we witnessed. Okay, but it was still contested. That was kind of the original point there. And Democrats do this all the time. In fact, Jamie Raskin, who's out there trying to say, like, nobody should contest the election, is one of the people that likes to contest elections. He just doesn't want you to know that he likes to do it. Says this comes as Muir, along with Lindsay Davis, who was the other moderator at the debate, an anchor on ABC News Live Prime, will moderate the presidential debate on Tuesday between Harris and Trump. And, of course, that's what we're referring to right now, which has already happened. The MRC's report also noted that coverage from CBS Evening News and NBC Nightly News showed highly positive coverage for the vice president, while the former president received negative coverage. However, the coverage of Harris on CBS was found to be 94% positive, while Trump's was 77% negative. NBC's coverage of Harris was found to have been 71% positive and 86% negative for Trump. So, given that the fact that the debate has already happened, it's over and done with, and has been for a few days, and probably about a week from the time that I'm actually going to be posting this, does this come as any surprise to you when you see it says the ABC campaign coverage has been basically all positive for Harris and 93% negative for Trump? I mean, that's just kind of, like, I'm sure Trump knew what he was getting into. His people aren't stupid. But to the regular folks out there, it's like, going into this, you had to know that, that they were already in the basket for Kamala. And watching the debate, you kind of knew that because they kept trying to fact check Trump. Their fact checks ended up being wrong quite a few times. They didn't fact check Kamala one time for obvious lies that she said, which will be coming up on videos that you'll probably hear either tomorrow or the day after. So just let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.